Welcome back to the channel. Today's story is one that will leave you absolutely stunned, especially if you've ever had a handful of pennies and wondered if any of them could change your life forever. Imagine for a moment that something so ordinary, so overlooked, like a 2005 1-cent coin, could actually be worth an astounding $18 million. Yes, you heard that right. One tiny copper-colored coin, no larger than a fingernail, and nearly tossed away as pocket change, managed to capture the attention of collectors, historians, and investors alike, becoming one of the most valuable coins in modern history. Our story begins not in a fancy auction house or a rare coin exhibition, but in a quiet town in the middle of Ohio. Jason Miller, a retired veteran and coin hobbyist, had just started sorting through a jar of coins that had been gathering dust in his attic. Like many people, he wasn't expecting much. A few nickels here, some dimes there. He was mainly searching for old silver coins he could add to his modest collection. But what Jason stumbled upon was a penny that looked ever so slightly different. It was a 2005 Lincoln cent, but there was something off. The color, the way it caught the light, and even the sound it made when dropped on the table, it all felt odd. Jason had no idea that this single penny would thrust him into the spotlight and become the subject of one of the most thrilling numismatic tales of the century. He placed the coin under a magnifying glass and began to take a closer look. The date was clear, 2005. The familiar Lincoln profile was there, but something about the mint mark didn't sit right. Instead of the usual clean D or P mint mark, it appeared almost like a hybrid, a partial D overlapping something else. He flipped the coin around, and his eyes widened. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial was there, but the detailing was sharp, too sharp. Jason had seen hundreds of 2005 pennies before, and none looked like this. The steps of the memorial had precise definition, almost like a proof coin. And yet, this wasn't a proof. He knew that from the wear on the edges. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that this coin was somehow unique. At first, he thought maybe it was just his imagination or a minor error, but curiosity got the best of him. Jason posted photos of the coin in an online coin collector forum. Within hours, the thread exploded with responses. Some dismissed it, others speculated it was a minor minting error, but a few seasoned collectors urged him to get it professionally appraised. What happened next would snowball into a whirlwind of media coverage, high-stakes bidding wars, and a deep dive into one of the most mysterious cases of U.S. coin production anomalies. Jason sent the coin to the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, one of the top coin grading services in the world. When the experts got their hands on it, they knew they were dealing with something extraordinary. The coin wasn't just an error. It was a one-of-a-kind piece that defied every known minting convention for that year. First off, the coin was struck on a bronze planchet, not the copper-plated zinc planchet used for all regular 2005 cents. The U.S. Mint had officially stopped producing bronze pennies decades earlier. Somehow, this anachronism had slipped through the production lines and ended up in circulation. That alone was enough to raise eyebrows. But there was more. Much more. Further metallurgical testing confirmed that the alloy composition matched that of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, almost identical to the pre-1982 pennies. That begged the question, how could a 2005 dated coin be minted using materials phased out over 20 years earlier? Conspiracy theories began to swirl. Was this an inside job? Had someone at the mint smuggled old planchets into the system to create a one-of-a-kind rarity? Or was it simply a bizarre oversight, an accident that resulted in one of the most valuable coins ever made? The coin was eventually graded as MS68, mint state, almost flawless condition. That grade alone added significant value, but its uniqueness sent collectors into a frenzy. Word spread quickly, and within weeks, major auction houses were contacting Jason, offering to host a private sale. But Jason, grounded and methodical, wanted to understand more before making any decisions. He spent days researching, speaking with coin experts, historians, even retired mint employees. One anonymous source claimed to recall a batch of old planchets that had been miscategorized in a storage facility at the Philadelphia Mint. Supposedly, during a maintenance cleanup, These outdated planchets were accidentally mixed with new stock and fed into the coin presses. It was the kind of mistake that would never make it into official records, but it was just plausible enough to explain the existence of the mysterious 2005 bronze penny. When Jason finally agreed to auction the coin, it was clear this wouldn't be any ordinary sale. The auction was held in New York, with an exclusive guest list of elite collectors, museum representatives, and wealthy investors. The starting bid was $100,000, already higher than many had predicted. But within minutes, the bidding soared into the millions. People were calling in from around the world, desperate to own a piece of modern coinage mythology. When the gavel finally struck, the winning bid was $18 million. The coin had officially become one of the most expensive 1-cent pieces ever sold. Jason, now a millionaire overnight, was both thrilled and overwhelmed. But what mattered most to him wasn't the money, it was the mystery. He'd unearthed something no one thought existed, something that defied the rigid systems of mass production and bureaucracy. But the story doesn't end there. After the auction, rumors began to circulate about a second coin. A dealer from Arizona claimed to have found a similar 2005 penny with unusual luster. Another collector reported a 2005 cent that weighed more than it should have. Suddenly, collectors all over the country were combing through their jars, drawers, and coin rolls, hoping to find the next multi-million-dollar discovery. The U.S. Mint remained silent on the matter, either confirming nor denying the coin's origin. Some believe they were embarrassed. Others think they simply didn't want to open the floodgates to more scrutiny. After all, if a rogue batch of bronze planchets had indeed been used, who knew what other errors might be out there? Jason, meanwhile, continued his coin collecting with more passion than ever. He donated part of his earnings to a museum, and the rest he used to start a scholarship fund for young numismatists. He traveled the country, giving talks and sharing his story, encouraging others to look closer at the ordinary objects in their lives. Because, as he'd learned, sometimes the most incredible treasures are hiding in plain sight. And that single 2005 1-cent coin? It now sits in a private collection, securely displayed in a temperature-controlled case, insured for even more than its auction price. It's no longer just currency, it's history, art, and legend all rolled into one tiny disc of copper. What's amazing is how this one coin ignited a global fascination. Coin dealers saw a spike in interest for 2005 coins. People who had never thought twice about pennies were suddenly poring over them with magnifying glasses. Search engines lit up with phrases like, 2005 penny worth money, and how to tell if your penny is rare. The coin had transcended its material value and become a cultural phenomenon. There were even documentaries proposed, with filmmakers eager to dramatize the story of the humble coin that shocked the world. Jason was approached for interviews, talk shows, and even a possible movie deal. Through it all, he remained the same quiet, curious man who found joy in sifting through old change, not for profit, but for the stories those coins told. It's hard to say what exactly makes a coin like that worth $18 million. Is it the rarity? The mystery? The perfect storm of error, condition, and timing? Perhaps it's all of those things. But above all, it's the story, the unbelievable, once-in-a-lifetime journey of a penny that should have never existed. So next time you find a penny on the ground or dig one out of your couch cushions, take a second look. Because as Jason Miller's story proves, sometimes the smallest things carry the biggest secrets. That penny in your pocket? It might just be the next great discovery waiting to happen. Thanks for sticking around to hear this incredible tale. If you enjoyed the story and want to hear more amazing coin discoveries and hidden treasures from history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could change your life. See you next time. Next, one that starts with a humble 1987 1-cent coin and ends with a mind-blowing $32 million price tag. You might want to stick around because this tale is about more than just copper and zinc. It's about obsession, history, and a twist that nobody saw coming. Let's rewind to 1987. Ronald Reagan was president, Michael Jackson's Bad was taking over the charts, and a small town in Illinois was buzzing over something no one quite understood yet. In the sleepy suburb of Springfield, a young coin collector named Neil Porter was rummaging through his grandfather's old coin jars. The coins had been sitting in a dusty attic for years, passed down from generation to generation. Neil, who had just turned 17, wasn't looking for treasure, just memories. As Neil sifted through the coins, one stood out. It looked like a regular Lincoln cent, same reddish tone, same profile, but it felt different. Literally. It was slightly thicker, and the edges weren't smooth like the others. Something about it nagged at him. He flipped it, stared at the date, 1987. He thought nothing of it at first. Just another penny, right? He pocketed it anyway and went back to school the next day, forgetting all about it. But the story didn't end there. A few weeks later, Neil's high school held a career fair. A local numismatist, someone who studies and collects coins, was giving a talk. On a whim, Neil brought the odd penny along. During a break, he showed it to the numismatist, a man named Harold Clements. Harold took one glance and asked if he could keep it for a few days to examine. Neil agreed, and that's when everything started. 3 days later, Harold called Neil in a panic. The coin wasn't just strange, it was unprecedented. First, it was struck on a bronze planchet, a practice the U.S. Mint had supposedly stopped in 1982 when it switched to a copper-plated zinc composition. Second, it weighed more than it should, 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams. And finally, and most bizarrely, it had a double die reverse. That meant the coin had been struck twice during minting, creating a slightly doubled image on the reverse side. This wasn't just an error. This was potentially a one-of-a-kind mistake. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes can be gold mines. Harold sent the coin to the American Numismatic Association for verification. 2 weeks later, they confirmed what he already suspected: it was real. But where did it come from? How did a 1987 penny end up with characteristics from coins minted 5 years earlier? The mystery deepened. That's when rumors began to surface. An anonymous former U.S. Mint employee came forward and admitted that, in the late 80s, there had been a batch of bronze planchets accidentally used at the Philadelphia Mint. Apparently, a container of leftover bronze blanks from before 1982 was never discarded and mistakenly fed into the press line. Nobody caught the mistake at the time. Only a handful of these error coins may have made it out into circulation before someone caught on, shut the line down, and quietly destroyed the rest. But by then, at least one had made it into public hands: Neil's coin. Once word got out, the coin was nicknamed the Ghost of 82. Collectors began scouring their coin jars, estate sales, and yard sales across the country. Coin forums exploded with speculation. Was Neil's coin truly unique, or were there others out there? The mystery and the drama only added to the value. Neil was offered thousands of dollars right away. Then tens of thousands. But he held out. This wasn't just a coin anymore. It was a piece of American minting history. And for a young man from Springfield, it was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Over the years, Neil kept the coin locked away in a safe deposit box. It gained mythical status. Articles were written. A documentary was even proposed. But Neil never sold. Not yet. Then, in 2015, something incredible happened. A private collector from Dubai contacted Neil through an intermediary. He was obsessed with American coin errors and had one of the largest private collections in the world. He wanted Neil's coin. Badly. And he was willing to pay handsomely. The offer? $12 million. Neil was stunned. He had no idea the coin's value had climbed that high. But even then, he hesitated. This was more than just money now. It was legacy. The deal didn't happen. But it reignited public interest in the coin. Soon, other major collectors joined the hunt. Auction houses started bidding wars. And all the while, Neil kept declining. Until 2022. That year, Neil was diagnosed with a rare heart condition. Suddenly, priorities shifted. He began thinking about his family, his future, and the time he had left. And so, after decades of holding onto it, he decided to let it go. The coin went to auction in late 2023. The starting bid was $4 million. Within 15 minutes, the price soared past $20 million. Phones rang off the hook. Online bidders clashed with in-person collectors. The room was electric. When the hammer finally dropped, the winning bid was $32 million. Yes, $32 million. For a 1-cent coin minted in 1987. The buyer? The very same collector from Dubai who had offered $12 million years earlier. He had waited patiently, quietly building the rest of his collection, knowing that one day Neil would part with it. And that's not the end. After the sale, the buyer had the coin encased in a custom display featuring a rotating platform, climate control, and biometric access. It became the crown jewel of his collection, insured for even more than he paid. Meanwhile, Neil used the money to fund cutting-edge medical treatments and set up a scholarship fund in his grandfather's name for students studying American history and numismatics. The 1987 1-cent coin had become more than just a collector's item. It was a symbol of historical curiosity, youthful discovery, and the strange ways in which a tiny object can change lives. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is what happened next. Following the publicity of the auction, a retired coin grader from the Denver Mint contacted a journalist anonymously. He claimed that during the same year, he had seen a handful of similar Bronze-era coins, but had been ordered to discard them. He said that a high-ranking official feared scandal if the public found out the mint was using leftover materials from 5 years earlier. But instead of destroying them, the grader claimed he kept one. No proof ever surfaced, but it reignited speculation. Could there be a second coin? Or even a third? Collectors all over the world went back to searching. Coin dealers saw an increase in demand for 1987 pennies. Some people tried to fake the error, using plating techniques to mimic the bronze composition. But no one could duplicate the exact weight, the unique doubling, or the trace mint markings that Neil's coin possessed. To this day, only one has been verified, and its journey, from a dusty attic in Springfield to a $32 million vault in the Middle East, is one of the most remarkable in coin collecting history. All because a teenager took the time to notice something just a little off. So next time you find a coin on the ground, take a second look. You never know what secret might be hiding in plain sight. And with that, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most valuable pennies in history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that might just change the way you look at pocket change forever. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in the world of rare coins, an unassuming 1995 1-cent coin that, against all odds, turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $68 million. That's right. One little copper-colored disc that most people wouldn't bend over to pick up from the sidewalk ended up changing lives and rewriting numismatic history. How did this happen? What makes a coin minted in the millions suddenly become one of the most valuable in existence? And what is it about this particular coin that has collectors, historians, and treasure hunters absolutely fascinated? Our story begins in a quiet suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, with a man named Michael Thorne. Michael was a retired history teacher with a deep passion for coin collecting. He wasn't wealthy, nor was he widely known in numismatic circles. But what he lacked in fame or fortune, he made up for in meticulous attention to detail. For over 4 decades, Michael had been collecting coins not for profit, but for the stories they told. Each coin was a slice of American history, and to him, each had a soul of its own. One cold afternoon in early 2019, Michael was sifting through a box of old change he'd kept in his attic for years. It wasn't unusual for him to revisit his collection, especially on days when he missed the classroom. On that particular day, he wasn't looking for anything specific, just enjoying the quiet pleasure of sorting, examining, and reminiscing. He came across a small envelope labeled Miscellaneous 90s Pennies. Inside were dozens of Lincoln cents, each showing the familiar face of the 16th president, some shiny, some worn, all familiar. But one coin in particular caught his eye. At first glance, it looked like any other 1995 Lincoln cent. But something about it felt off. The color seemed richer, the detail sharper. Michael examined the coin under his magnifying glass, and that's when he saw it. The doubling. To the trained eye, it was unmistakable. On the word, Liberty, and the date itself, there was a clear, distinct doubling effect. This wasn't just a common circulation coin. This was a double die error, a mistake during the minting process where the design is struck more than once in misalignment, causing certain features to appear twice. Double die coins are among the most coveted in the collecting world. The 1955 double die penny, for example, is legendary and can fetch thousands. But what Michael had in his hand was far rarer. This was no ordinary error, it was perfect. The doubling was prominent, clean, and astonishingly centered. He felt his pulse quicken. Could this be a known error? Or something entirely new? Michael reached out to a local coin dealer he trusted for years, a woman named Sandra Klein. Sandra owned a modest coin shop downtown, and she'd seen her fair share of interesting finds. When Michael showed her the coin, her eyes widened. "Where did you get this?" she asked, hardly able to contain her excitement. He explained its origin, and she immediately suggested sending it to the professional coin grading service for authentication and appraisal. Weeks passed, and then the letter came. PCGS not only confirmed it was a genuine 1995 double die obverse cent, but also noted that this particular specimen exhibited characteristics never before seen: perfect strike, rare metal composition irregularity, and an unexplained anomaly on the rim that suggested it might be a prototype or test strike, rather than a regular mint release. The grading? MS-70. Mint state perfect. A one-of-a-kind, word got out. Quickly, coin collectors and historians began to buzz about the thorn cent, as it became known. Experts debated its origins, with some suggesting it may have been an experimental piece never intended for circulation. Rumors swirled that a small batch of these coins were created in a secret test of a new minting technique and accidentally mixed with regular production. Others theorized it was the result of a retiring mint employee leaving behind a signature error. Whatever the cause, one thing was certain: this coin was unique. Auction houses began calling. Offers poured in, climbing from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands in a matter of weeks. But Michael wasn't interested in selling. Not yet. He wanted to learn more, understand its story, and ensure that if it were ever sold, it would be to someone who appreciated its historical value. That all changed when a mysterious buyer made an unprecedented offer, $68 million, with the condition that the buyer remain anonymous and that the coin be delivered in person by Michael himself. It was an offer so outlandish, so utterly unbelievable, that even Michael had trouble accepting it. But after months of negotiation, legal review, and security arrangements, the deal was finalized. Michael flew to Geneva under tight security. The handoff took place in a private vault beneath one of the oldest banks in Switzerland. When the transaction was complete, Michael walked away not just with unimaginable wealth, but with a profound sense of closure. He returned to Ohio quietly, donating a significant portion of the money to educational programs and historical preservation initiatives. He kept a modest home, never flaunted his wealth, and continued to collect coins, though none ever gave him the thrill of the 1995 cent. But the story doesn't end there. News of the thorn cent sparked a global treasure hunt. Collectors and amateurs alike began scouring their change, flea markets, and old coin jars, hoping to find another 1995 double die with similar characteristics. Social media exploded with posts, videos, and theories. Entire YouTube channels were created just to document the hunt. The U.S. Mint, overwhelmed by public inquiries, released a statement confirming that while the 1995 double die cent is known, the characteristics of the thorn specimen were unique and not part of any recognized production. Still, hope lingered. A man in Arizona claimed to have found a similar coin, but it turned out to be a counterfeit. A teenager in Florida discovered a minor error penny from 1995 that sold for $1,200. Not life-changing, but enough to stir the imagination. Meanwhile, Michael's story became the subject of documentaries, podcasts, and articles. He became something of a folk hero in the numismatic community, a symbol of patience, curiosity, and the enduring value of knowledge. As time passed, the legend of the thorn cent only grew. Some believe the anonymous buyer was a tech billionaire with a passion for rare Americana. Others speculated it was a government agency seeking to reclaim a lost piece of minting history. Conspiracy theories even emerged, suggesting the coin held a secret code or map embedded in its design. Of course, none of these were ever proven. The coin itself has never been seen publicly since that day in Geneva. But its impact continues to ripple through the collecting world. Coin shows now dedicate entire sessions to the study of the 1995 educational institutions used Michael's story to teach students about economics, history, and the importance of curiosity. And every year, thousands of people find themselves looking just a little more closely at the pennies they once ignored. If there's a lesson to be learned from this story, it's that value often lies where we least expect it. A coin minted by the millions, a face we see every day, a year like any other, yet one version of it changed everything. It brought together communities, sparked imaginations, and reminded the world that history is still full of surprises. So next time you're handed change at the store, take a moment. Look at the date. Examine the detail. Because you never know when a simple penny might be your ticket to a new life, or a piece of history waiting to be rediscovered. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this incredible story about one of the most valuable coins in history, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you never miss another unbelievable coin discovery. Until next time, keep searching, your fortune might be hiding in plain sight.